Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, October the 9th, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. And we made it through another week. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. We're going to look at climate-related items around the world and methane for this week and sea ice and earthquakes and I think and then a couple of other things. So we're going to start out with Climate Reanalyzer just to get an overview of where we are right now. And we're starting out with maximum temperatures for today. We've got some blues over the Arctic basin, and that's freezing. It's 5 to 10 C, minus 5 to 10 C, and then Greenland has got purplish, and that's like minus 30 C. These are air temperatures at 2 meters. And we've got a lot of greens around it still. Here in the US, we've got warm weather on the west coast and through the middle of the country, and then other areas where it's a little bit cooler. Here in South America, through most of Brazil, they're in the whites, and that is about 40 C or higher, which is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Africa, you've got some whites down in the south, a few whites in Madagascar. Northern Africa is cooling down. Not so many whites across the central northern region. We still have whites in Saudi Arabia, a little bit of India, and northern Australia. Here's 2 meter temperature anomaly, and so we can see the blues, which is colder than normal, right in next to the browns, which is warmer than normal. That dark brown, like here over the Beaufort Sea, is like 10 to 14 C higher than normal. We had an ozone hole that opened up over the Beaufort Sea and the Canadian archipelago for a couple of days. I think it was Friday and Saturday that happened. And it was in the danger zone. It was, I'll show y'all that. And sun is going down, and so this whole center part of the Arctic is now in the dark, in addition to parts of Greenland, Ellesmere Island. Alright, and then look at these browns that just come down. A big white band in western Canada, almost all of Alaska, and all from the Midwest of the US over west. And it's warm. I'm in the Reno, Nevada area, and it's been like summer here this week. And here we are. It's almost mid-October, and then here we've got blues right next to it, and Greenland has blues. And then on the other side of the planet, we've got browns coming down across a lot of Russia, most of Russia, and Spain, parts of Europe, and Africa, and so on. And the Antarctic was higher than normal this week too. Right now we're 0.3 C higher than normal worldwide. The northern hemisphere is up 0.7 C. The Arctic is 2.1 C higher than normal. The Antarctic is up 0.1 C. The southern hemisphere is minus 0.2 C. And the tropics are up 0.1 C. Here's precipitation and clouds. We're still seeing rain come up in this North Atlantic, and see it's coming up to Greenland again. And also, see it's raining here in the Beaufort Sea and across Russia, this coastline of the Kara Sea. And then they've got snow in some of these areas where the blue is, there's snow. Here's the flat view. Here are the jet loops. There's no stream anymore. It's all broken up. And it's just these weird broken up loops. And it's getting more chaotic every time we look at this. Now right now there's a low pressure system here over the Chukchi Sea, and that is 981 millibars, and another low over Svalbard, and that's 961 it looks like. And then see how it loops down. That's where that cold air is escaping from the Arctic. Here's the flat view, and see just nothing over this whole western US, and this is where we're in the browns. And see these broken loops. Southern hemisphere broken too. And sea surface temperature anomaly. This is for yesterday. We still got browns in the Arctic. Here along the Russia coastline in Barents and Kara Seas, it's moving back into like the reddish brown, which is about 4 C higher than normal. And it's going to take a while for this water to cool down. And look at all these browns right around Greenland and up in the Baffin Bay. This will keep the ice from refreezing. Wherever you see the brown, you're not going to see ice. So that medium brown is like 2 C higher than normal. The dark brown is about 5 C, like here below Greenland, higher than normal. And then the reddish brown is 4 C. The bright red is about 5 C. The light pink is about 6 C higher than normal. And here's our blob in the North Atlantic. It's kind of breaking up, but it's still, we still have high readings up here. And see the warm water just hugging Greenland. And here's the flat view of the globe. And this whole Atlantic area is mainly in some sort of brown, and the inland seas, like the Mediterranean, still brown on the west side, starting to cool down a little bit with some blues over by Greece in that area. The Black Sea, we still have a lot of browns. The Caspian Sea is still a lot of browns. Here in the Baltic Sea, it's almost all browns. The North Sea, and so on. And then here in the Pacific, here's our blob. It was two blobs, but they seem to be merging into one big blob with the evil eye in the middle. And this is in the North Pacific, just below the Aleutian Islands, and from about the middle over east, almost to Japan. And then heavy browns in the rest of the Pacific up here along North America, and then out, and then browns from Indonesia across. And then these blues, that's the equatorial Pacific region, where it's colder than normal. Worldwide, we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. The Northern Hemisphere and North Pacific are both up 0.7 C. The North Atlantic is up 1 C. The Southern Hemisphere is up 0.1 C. And the Equatorial Pacific is down 0.4 C. So there's that. Now we're going to look at methane. I have 2 days worth of methane from NOAA that we need to look at for Friday and Saturday. And then for CAMS, we're going to look at Saturday. So starting here on the 7th in the morning, this is the MET-OP-B or MET-OP-1 satellite. It's the only one we're getting data from now. And we're tracking this 469 millibar level. The mean or average was 1949 parts per billion. The high reading was 2541, and we've got pinks coming all the way down to the Antarctic. Here in the afternoon, we've got quite a bit of missing data in areas where we see high methane, like India and going up, Western Africa, Spain, France, Ireland, almost all of South America. But even with that, we're at 1948 for the mean, and the high reading was 2494. And then for Saturday, the 8th in the morning, the mean was 1949. We still have some missing data. The high reading was 2447. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1946, and the high reading was 2447. So here's our chart and spreadsheet. So for the 8th, that averages out to be 1947.5, which was the same in my report last week. So no change overall for the week. So we can see the line, just a flat line up here. we're 16 parts per billion higher than a year ago, and we're 78 parts per billion higher than when I started tracking this in March of 2019. Now, we should be getting close to the end of the methane rising season. I've seen it go, what was the latest I've seen since I've been doing this? I didn't mean to do that. The latest we went was October 23rd of 2020. That's where we peaked out. We had twin peaks that year of 1914 on September 25th and then October 23rd. And in 2019, we peaked out on October the 12th of 1897. And then last year, we peaked out on October the 2nd at 1936. So, you know, we're getting close. We could still have a peak right now. Well, let's go over what happened this week. I track methane on a daily basis and report on it and other items pretty much on a daily basis on my Subscribestar page, and we'd love to have you over there, and the link is in the description box below. That's a way that you can support my work if you're interested, if you find this information useful. And I'm not monetized. My YouTube channel was never monetized, so I don't make any money off of these videos. So on last week, here we were in the show last week, we were at 1947.5 for the first. And then on the second Sunday, it went up 2 parts per billion. On Monday, it went up 0.5. On Tuesday, it went down 2. Thursday, no change. Friday, down 0.5. Saturday, up 1. I missed a day. Anyway, Friday, it went up 1, and then Saturday, it went down 1. Anyway, I called them off wrong, but you get the idea. So we had some stair-stepping here. We got up to 1950 for the average for the third, and on that day, our morning reading was 1958, and the afternoon reading was 1949. So, back on September the 19th, that's been our highest mean so far. We were at 1950.5, and there was so much missing data there, I almost didn't want to count it, but I'm thinking we might just go ahead and count that, and that would be our highest reading so far this year. If we don't count that, then it would be 1950 on the 3rd so far. And on September 19th, our morning reading was 1952, and the afternoon reading was 1949. So that's the highest morning reading we've seen. So, I'll just keep reporting. We'll see where we end up. Now, we're going to go to CAMS. This is from the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website. We're going to look at Saturday, October the 8th, Arctic view and surface level. Here's our color ledger. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. And we can see this Norway, Scandinavian over to Russia region has gone way down. We're still seeing high readings across Russia here, especially in the forecast period. I see it streaming high readings off the coastlines. Look at this. This is in the Kara Sea. Cumulative is still percolating, but we've had so much methane coming up from this Norway over to Russia region. It's just kind of dwarfed everything going on at Cumulative. Here's Alaska. Here's Koptovik, Alaska. Canada. So, in these areas where we've seen a lot of blobs of just the, solid dark methane, which would be at 2160 to 10,000 parts per billion. Now we can see those are going down in some areas. Like in Canada, there's not as much. Alaska, there's not as much. Here's our problem spot in the North Atlantic. This is where our blob is. See, off the coast of Newfoundland. And if you look closely, it's popping off on the coast of Iceland too. Now we'll look at the North Pole view. Oh, and I also have a PayPal link in the description box below if you're so inclined to help the cause. It's up to you. I'm just doing this. You gotta be doing something, waiting for the world to end. So I'm documenting what I see here, like a captain's log. Alright, so Germany, a lot of the Europe area, see, it's very blobby all the way over. into almost to Russia here. And the Persian Gulf filled up. India, Pakistan, China. Now watch. Look at this wave move out. That's when you see those dark waves moving out over the coastlines like that from China. That's very high methane. Look at that. It's just like a burst out. And then here in the U.S., look at that. That's awful. Almost solid with the dark stuff on some days. See, there on Monday. And then the green waves are moving out and swirling over the oceans. And then we'll go to the global view. It'll smooth out. There we go. So this darker blue is creeping in around the equatorial regions, and that's a lower reading of methane. That's 1840 parts per billion. Then the next color up, 1860, is still the main background color in the southern hemisphere. But as the seasons change, we'll get, and as methane starts going down, overall we'll see readings go down. Especially, like, it's very noticeable when you have these big areas in the southern hemisphere, areas over the water like that. That background color, I mean, it really stands out when that starts changing. And we'll go to 500 HPA. This is about halfway up in the atmosphere, about the same level as what I'm tracking on NOAA. And see all these dark areas, just splotches. It's really kind of spread around. And we've got the reds coming further south. Look, normally we don't see reds like this over the southern Atlantic. And then total column. And the highest is China here, and see this arm coming out over the Pacific up over Japan here, and then northern India, and then the reds, lots of reds. So there's that. And we'll go on here. Here's sulfur dioxide for today. This is from CAMS. Got a high reading here in southern Peru. That's where Sabancaya volcano is. We also have a higher reading in the interior of Brazil. And then we've been watching this whole week in the Western Pacific. There's been a high reading here all week, and I'm thinking that it's plate movement. And here it is at 500 HPA. And you can see where it's heavy. Like when it's volcanic activity, it usually shoots it up to where you can really see it come up at 500 HPA. And so we've got several areas here in South America and Colombia. Here's Popocatépetl volcano in Mexico. Here's the Pacific view. Here's our ring of fire all around here. And here, see this? Now, it does have a weird exclamation point shape. So usually when it's defined, well defined with an exclamation point, I've found that connected with an upcoming earthquake, that shape. When it's blotchy and not well defined, that's usually from volcanoes. And you can have a combo too, volcanoes and earthquakes. So here we are at 500 HPA, and we've got some that's left over coming up across the Pacific. And then I think this is new down here, and this is in a volcanic region, a chain of sunken volcanoes coming. It's part of Japan's territory, but it's a whole ridge of volcanoes down there. So it could be plate movement too. And here, see how it jumped up here. This is Sabancaya, and I don't know why the interior of Brazil. I've seen high readings there before. I don't know what that's from exactly. We're not seeing earthquakes there, and I don't think the volcanoes are there. They're mainly along this west coast. And then here's Popocatépetl. It's like perpetually going off. Here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today, and it's still huge. The sun is up, so now this should start shrinking, and we're seeing black here in the interior, and that's the lowest color. That's between 100 to 125 Dobson units. So we're down 5 levels, all in the danger zone inside this thick black line over the Antarctic. And this first level down is 200 to 220 Dobson units. Then it goes down from there. Here's the Arctic ozone for today. And see all this aqua over Canada. And here over southwest Canada, Vancouver region, and then all these greens. So I would call this a hole. It's not considered in the danger zone, but I would call it a hole. And then here on this right side, a lot of rushes in the greens. Here's the global view. See all these greens? Anything that has a tinge of green is below average, or they consider like this solid yellow as being a good reading. That's 300 Dobson units. As soon as you start getting even this little greenish tinge, that's below 300 Dobson units. And we're seeing thicker ozone forming around the Arctic regions and the Antarctic. And this is here near Indonesia and just west of Australia. This is a perpetual hole. It kind of stays there year round. Okay, I just took a few earthquake pictures today. 196 earthquakes today, and look at all this movement on this ring of fire, on this Western Pacific. Now that's lighting up, and see all these earthquakes over in the Japan region. So these could be related to the sulfur dioxide release. And then here this is in this central mid-Atlantic ridge, 6.2. This came in today at 9:38 this morning Pacific time. See, it's right on the red line, tectonic plate line. This is Africa on the right and South America on the left. And of interest here, this is Alaska, and there are 3 4 magnitude earthquakes all in this little armpit region, 4.3, 4.5, and 4.6. And this one up here, this is at the top end of the extension of the Juan de Fuca plate. And see, here's the Juan de Fuca plate, and so it's moving, and we've got a 3.0 right on the western edge. And then see, we've got movement in this Cascadia subduction zone region. See the dots there. And that's all of those. Alright, next we'll move on to sea ice. And we're going to start with our slideshow. This is from Climate Reanalyzer. I download these images every day. And we're looking at sea ice and snow cover for the Arctic here. And you can also see the white areas on the land, that's where it's snowing already. See, a lot of Russia, they've already got snow. So here we are, and not much extent regrowth on this east side. We've got some on this west side, and it's trying to fill in the gaps. And we've got some refreeze in this tributary region, and also in the North Baffin Bay there. So let's see what happened this week. Here we were last week on Sunday the 2nd. So I'll just go through and we can see if we notice any changes. So here was last Sunday. Here's Monday. Yeah, that's definitely a growth. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was a retreat there. You see the retreat here in the Chukchi Sea. Let's go back. See, here's Friday. It was more solid there. And look at Saturday. See, that's a retreat. And then here we are today. So it's hard to tell how much is refreezing. Now we'll move on. This is the U.S. Navy model of the Arctic Sea Ice Thickness. This is for today. And so above Greenland and Canada, this is what's left of the thicker sea ice for this year. And see these dark lines? That's where it's a lot thinner in these areas. And the bright aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. And the dark aqua is about 1.5 meters thick, like on this edge here. And then it moves into the blue, which is about 1.25 meters thick, and the dark purple is about 1 meter thick. And then it goes down from there. And we're seeing a little hint of red and yellow on this north coast of Greenland, next to the Lincoln Sea. That's ice just piling up along there. And we're seeing some refreeze in this Northwest Passage. See the light lavender. And a little bit of refreeze on the edges. And it's thickening up. And these holes are filling in. And what we're seeing, though, with this piece of ice, it's still stretching. It's stretching out and it's squishing down. You'll see. And I'm afraid that like this west end is going to break off and get caught up in the Beaufort Gyre. Okay, here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, so the data goes back 3 weeks, and forecast period goes out to next Saturday. So let's see what they're showing. See how it then shrinks down and stretches out. And sometimes we see this whole ice just shift and move with, it's called the sea ice drift, with the waves moving it. And it does that when it's not anchored into the land. When it's anchored into the land, it's called land fast, and so it keeps the ice from jostling around so much because it's anchored in. But if it's not anchored in, then it's just more at the mercy of the waves and the wind and just the whole elements out there. So there's that. Here's the Beaufort Sea Ice Thickness for today. Here's this western end. And we've got a little touch of reddish orange. So that's about 4 meters thick. So here's the Beaufort Sea Ice Thickness. Here's Alaska down here at the bottom, Canada on the right. We're getting a little hint of green showing up. That's showing that it's thickening. And like that solid green, dark solid green is about 3 meters thick. So it's moving towards about 2.5 to 2.75 meters thick, where you see the greenish tinge. Here's the 30-day animation. This is updated to today, so the forecast goes out to next Sunday. So we're starting to see a little bit of refreeze going on here, especially in the Chukchi Sea around the edges. Not much on the Alaska side. Oh, well, a little bit right down here. But I'm afraid that like this is going to break off, and we will watch it just slide down and get churned up during the winter. So there's that. Now we'll move to the Antarctic. Sea ice thickness for today. Now they started melting. They reached their maximum, I think it was around September 18th or 16th, something like that. It hasn't been officially reported. But the sun is up. We're seeing a lot of melting going on this west side here and around this tippy point of the western peninsula, and also out here on this part of the Weddell Sea. And it's still trying to thicken up a little bit, and we've got, see, mainly aquas around the coastlines, but there's this area down here on the southeast edge where there's no aqua. It's in fact, it's a lot of open water around some of the coastlines. And here's the 30-day animation. Again, this was updated to yesterday, so the forecast goes out to next Saturday. And you can really see this western edge just coming in. See, it wasn't very thick anyway. And here in the South Pole, the sea ice, most of it doesn't get very thick. It has to refreeze every year. Generally, most of it melts during their summertime, and this is, you know, on the outside of the continent, and so it refreezes during the winter time, and so it doesn't get very thick. Here in the Weddell Sea, just next to this western peninsula, that's where you see the majority of the thicker ice. Alright, this is from National Snow and Ice Data Center, Arctic sea ice concentration as of yesterday. And so we're seeing refreeze around some of the coast here around Russia. They're showing the Gulf of Ob already frozen back over, and see a few spots around Alaska, Russia, and here we've got blues coming in now in a lot of this Northwest Passage region. And see the whites, that means the ice is solid, that it's frozen, even if it's just a thin layer in between the pieces of ice, it's frozen. And that's what it means, is concentration, that it's put together. And they're not seeing a lot of holes where you see the white. So we've got a lot of areas that are still in the blue. And here's the extent chart. And this blue line is this year. And in the last day or so, this angle is kind of slipping down. It had been going up more like a 45-degree angle, but this is a little bit lower, and I'm thinking we're going to meet up with 2012. Just probably this week. Here's the Antarctic, and see the hole here on this western side. And here's the chart. The blue line is this year. This greenish line is last year. The gray line is the median. And so here, at this point, in my mind, we probably reached maximum, and it was right back here about on September, I don't know, mid-September, and then it's slowly like going down, and we had leveled off for a couple of days, but it looks like a little angle down again. And here's Greenland. This is for Friday the 7th. And where you see the salmon dots, that's where the melting is right now. So not much, just a couple of spots. Here are the cumulative melt days for this year. And so where you see white, those are the only places where there was not at least one melt day this year. So that area is getting smaller every year. And see this edge down here, it got a lot of melt, and this high region is 90 to 100 and plus, with the dark red into black. That's days. Here's the chart. And so we had end of the season unusual melt or anomalous melting around the end of August. See, it spiked up to 35%, and then it stayed up for a few days even, and then it went up again towards the end of September. That's about 15% melt, and now it's gone down, and we're even excuse me, with this dotted blue line, which is the median, and so that's at the bottom. That's all of those. Now, we'll take a peek at NASA Worldview. Here we're looking at the Arctic. This black circle is where it's already gone dark, and it'll get bigger and bigger. So, we can see that northern Greenland is in the dark. Almost all of Ellesmere Island is in the dark. Svalbard is this little edge is in the dark. Almost all of Franz Josef Land is in the dark. Coats and Mollets is in the dark. And that's all of the land that's in the dark. And I'm going to turn on the sea ice concentration layer, and wherever you see colors, it's either refreezing or like where you see the reds here inside, it means that it's not fully concentrated. I'm not seeing very much white, just a little bit of white. So That's a little bit difference in the models. So let's go back to last Sunday. Let's see where we were and what happens this week. So here's Sunday. Here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and here we are today. I don't know, I'm thinking we're seeing more reds than last week, than last Sunday. So, I mean, we've seen it melt in the interior of the sea ice, even though the extent is refreezing. And that's because there's warm air above, or there's warm air from underneath that's melting it. So let's go in, see what we can see. Here's the Nares Strait. Here's the Baffin Bay, it's open. This east side of Greenland, that's open. We've got, see the swirling white, that's ice refreezing. So, hard to tell much here. Let's turn on our nighttime layer and see if we can glean anything here. Look at this. This is the Nares Strait, it looks like. I think. I gotta get my bearings. Yeah. So, here's the Lincoln Sea, and see lots of open water here. And this is an exit point for the ice. One of them. And here's some refreeze going on. And then this is Baffin Bay. Then, I see there's Greenland. See the lines. See these lines? That's the leads. That's what it's called. Those long lines in between the areas of ice. These are called leads, and where you see the dark like that, that's open water. And that's the last to freeze, is all those leads areas. Can't really tell. Here's some ice. It's on the north end. And then so we've got some open water here as well. There's the North Pole. Let's look at this. See the leads. They should be closing up by now, I would think. And then down here, this is the Beaufort Sea. See all these leads. And that's about all we can see here. So I'm going to turn that nighttime layer off. And then we're going to hop to the Antarctic. Shield your eyes. It's going to be bright. See? No black dot. The sun is up. It's still low to the horizon, but it's up. And we're going to start here at this tippy point of the Western Peninsula. And up here, this is the iceberg we've been tracking, A76. Here's a piece that broke off. So it's just going back and forth. I don't understand. It's not really moving that much. And there's no ice there to hold it in. So I'm just wondering if it's being manipulated to kind of sit there. So here we were last Sunday, and see, it was more straight up. And here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, about the same, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, look at that, and then today it's cloudy. So this was a really good view yesterday. And so it's just kind of teetering back and forth. And the little island it nearly ran into is, where is it? Can't find it. It blends in with the clouds. There it is, right down here. These two, but mainly this one. So oops. Alright, so you get the idea there. Now, we'll move on. I wanted to show on this western side, here's Pine Island Glacier today. There's a cloud over part of it. See the dark little dots? I'm thinking that's open water there. And then right down here, this is the Thwaites Glacier, the Doomsday Glacier. We've got clouds over it right now. And this tongue that comes down. Here's a big crack going across. So that tongue is already broken up into two big pieces. And open water there. More open water. Now coming around, this is the Ross Sea. Here's the Ross Ice Shelf. can see the ice. This is Ross Island here. And here's the shadow of the peak of the volcano. And then right up here, this tippy point, that's where McMurdo Station is. And so this ice is melting. See, that's going to be melting fast. Alright, coming on around. And then down here. This is the Totten Glacier. You can see through the cloud. There's the ice tongue here. Then open water around it. See, open, 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 more open. Oh yeah. Here's the Amory ice shelf. And it's got weird colors because the sun is at an angle. And then coming back up, there's the north end. And we're coming back around here. And here's the Brunt ice shelf here. And if we go back, okay, here on the 6th was a very good view. This is the Halloween crack that's going all the way across. And then this is another crack up here. I think this one formed last year. Not for sure. See this open water? Open. So there's the ice in the Weddell Sea. Oh, look at this. There's a hole. And this is the Weddell Sea. Here's the Weddell ice shelf. And there's that. Now, we're going to take a look at earthquakes. Let's go 7 days, all magnitudes. So we got 2018 this week. So we had some swarming areas of Hawaii, and then a few places in the U.S. had large clusters, and those add up. You get a few clusters of 10 or 20 each, and those add up. So we saw this one, the 6.2 Central Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and then we've got some 5s in the South Sandwich Islands region. Let's zoom in. And this is at the Reykjanes Ridge. We've got 4 right now. Okay, what are we on? 7 days all magnitude. The largest was this 5.0. This came in on the 3rd at 11:08 in the morning. And then 4.5, 4.5, 4.6. And then, look at all of this. We've got a lot of movement on this ring of fire. And look here, this is the Fiji Tonga region. And here in the Mediterranean, at Greece, here's a 5.2 at Antikythera, Greece. That came in yesterday. Here's one in Italy, 3.1, Bogliasco. We've got 2 in the Mediterranean, here just off the coast of Morocco. We've got a 4.2 and a 4.9. And okay, we saw that 5.2. Okay, let's go. While we're here, we'll see how many earthquakes are in Alaska today. And we're going to count this one over in Canada. 498 just in Alaska region this week. There were 2 here in the Bering Strait. They were in the forest range. And there was a 4.5 at Dawson City, Canada. Here's the US. And oh, okay, right. Oregon had a 4.4 at Lacombe, Oregon. Lacombe, not Lacombe. This came in on the 7th at 5:52 in the morning. And look at all these dots. I mean, that Cascadia zone, that's moving. We can see that. And then here, all along the San Andreas fault line. And then coming up, here's Searles Valley Ridgecrest. That's still rocking. And then it comes up following the Sierra Nevada mountains. And we end up back at Reno. So we got 26 here all week. And these were 1s and under. So that's my report for tonight. And I do believe we're in the end times. And we need to bring our focus back to the spiritual. So we're reading out of the book of Job. Job chapter 3. After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast that I should suck? For now, should I have lain still and been quiet, I should have slept, then had I been at rest, with kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or as in hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to me that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God hath hedged in? For my sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. Job chapter 3. So I'm praying for everybody. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it before it's too late. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you, and I hope everyone has as good a week as they can. And Lord willing, I'll be here next Sunday to do another update for you all. So I love you all. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.